Globalization is a process where culture, language, norms, and tradition are becoming more interconnected with each other. A country has the potential to transmit its culture and language to another country, meaning to say that globalization is like a web, which connects each countries despite of their differences. But of course, accepting the other culture is not that easy. Acceptance in this part is still a pipe dream, because there is a tendency that other countries will reject the culture of others, especially if other countries appears to violate the norms or believes in their country it is the only natural that they will not accept it. In this case, we cannot blame them because each person is different from each other and we have different views in life. We cannot force others to accept own views because will only cause a much bigger gap between countries. Come and seek the truth about ethical challenges of globalization and pluralism.
We're going to talk about racism and discrimination. There's a saying that don't judge a book by its cover, and yet we easily judge people just because on how they look, how they talk, the color of their skin, their nationality, their races, and more. Racism and different forms of discrimination is still the biggest problem in our generation. Racism is when someone is afraid to be judged just because of their color, nationality, ethnicity, and races. And unfortunately, sometimes it leads or results of violence. Racism, also called racialism, to believe that humans may be divided into separate and exclusive biological entities called races. Black Lives Matter (BLM), international social movement formed in the United States in 2013, was dedicated to fight racism and anti-black violence, especially in the form of police brutality. The name Black Lives Matter signals condemnation of the injustice killings of black people by the police. BLM activists have held large and influential protests in cities across the United States as well as internationally. Police brutality leads millions of people of all ages and races to take the streets in protest. The killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, and so many others lit the spark. Black Lives Matter is about the wrongful death of black people in the hand of police. Black Lives Matter confronts the injustice suffered by the communities of color since the beginning of the society.
The anger in the community, it's still going to be out there.
I don't want to wake up every day feeling like I'm going to get killed by a police.
It's a homicide! That was cold-blooded murder!
The world is full of different people. We have different races. We live in different countries and we speak different languages. But this doesn't mean that we need to deal or treat someone or somebody differently. We do all know that our planet is the only one that we live in. Treating someone nice is a good thing to do, even if her color is different from us. We need to give someone compassion, respect that they need it, just like we do. Having different sexuality or being gay, it's not a sin. For as long as we live with respect, love, God-fearing, and with compassion, it is not the fault of others to be like that. We have no right to respect the feelings of others. Instead of making them fun, let's give them the understanding they need. Racism is everywhere and can be experienced by anyone. It's either me, you, or other people. As we grow, our values and beliefs in life is influenced by our family, friends, school, and everything we see and read in social media. Racism and different forms of discrimination will never be justified. Everyone has the right to live the life that was given to them without looking at them down, differently, or judging them. Let's make this place a better place where we treat one another equally. And let's learn and seek knowledge for the culture and nationality of other races. And most of all, let's love one another.
Before reaching City of Baras, Barangay Anupul, Bamban, we have to travel for 1 and When you arrive at City of Baras, we first see the houses of Bagtas. But it will be seen later in this documentary that only limited numbers of itis can be seen outside. Not because they are ashamed, but because they are afraid of outsiders like us. In the interview I was doing, one of them recounted what happened 3 months ago. When a few outsiders visited their CTO, which they accepted wholeheartedly, but they only deceived them and they returned to them mistaking their crops and livestock. And after obtaining their purpose, they spit on them and said they were stupid and ignorant. Magandang umaga po, Ate Maylene.
Magandang umaga, Ning.
Salamat po at pumayag kayo na ma-interview ko at pasensya na rin po sa abala.
Naku, wala iyon. Basta makakatulong.
Ate, magtatanong po ako ha. Nakaranas na po ba kayo ng diskriminasyon?
Diskriminasyon? Madalas lalo na sa mga taong tagalabas gaya mo, Ning. Huwag mong mamasamain. Kasi para sa kanila ay kami ay bobo, ignorante, at madumi lagi. Lagi ko yung nararanasan kapag bumababa ako sa pasag para pumunta sa center.
Gaya po ng ano, ate?
Kapag nakapila ako ay pinagtitinginan ako. Merong lumalayo at kadalasan pinagtatawanan ako dahil sa kulay ko.
Humihingi po ako ng pasensya sa mga inaasal po nila at pasensya na rin po na itanong ko pa ito sa inyo.
Ayos lang yun, Neng. Kung sanang ganyan din ang mga isip ng mga taong iyon.
Facts and cases of ecological problems. According to Ned Haluzan, the term of ecological problem is today mostly used to describe different environmental problems. Problems of environment are also problems of ecology because environment is really a center of all ecological research.
An environment is generally defined as the surrounding or conditions in which a person, animal, and plant survive or operates. From this, it must be relatively easy for one to comprehend its importance in the famed cycle of life. Our environment is constantly changing, and as our environment changes, so does the need to become increasingly aware of the environmental issues that are causing these changes. With a massive increase in natural disasters, warming and cooling periods, and different types of weather patterns, people need to be a lot more cautious with the way they lead their lives in the conjunction with the types of environmental issues our planet is facing. Climate change. Climate change is a great concern in today's scenario. This problem has surfaced in the last few decades. Greenhouse gases are the major cause of climate change. Environmental changes have several destructive impacts such as the melting of glaciers, change in season, and epidemics. Next is the global warming. The burning of fossil fuels, emissions from the automotive and chlorofluorocarbons add to the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This has led to an increase in Earth's temperature, causing environmental changes. This increase in temperature across the globe is known as a global warming. Next is all sorts of pollution, such as water pollution and air pollution. The introduction of harmful substances into rivers, oceans, lakes, and ponds, which changes the physical, chemical, and biological condition of the water is called water pollution. The polluted water lacks oxygen and therefore the organisms dies. Water is the main source of life and therefore it is our prime duty to prevent it from any kind of pollution. Next is the air pollution. Air pollution is the result of emissions from the industries, automobiles, and increasing use of fossil fuels. The gaseous emissions of the earth. These are the solutions to environmental issues or the ecological problems. Number 1, replace disposal items with reusable items. Number 2, the use of paper should be avoided. Number 3, conserves water and electricity. Number 4, support environmental friendly practices. And lastly is recycle the waste to conserve the natural resources.
The climate change, global warming, all sorts of pollution, and deforestation. These are all the ecological problems.
Introduce yourself.
So my name is Cedric. I'm currently studying at Tarlac State University College of Teacher Education, taking up a Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Social Studies.
Our topic is all about ecological problem. The question is, what are some of the most serious ecological problems?
For me, one of the most ecological problems faced in the Philippines, I guess, is the waste management. Because this waste management could be a huge problem in the Philippines that should be addressed in the government. And this problem actually leads in a domino effect that can lead also to create a new problem that could be faced also by the Filipinos or by the people.
Second question, what are 5 things government can do to solve ecological problem?
Okay, my answer could be classified in 5 categories. So the government should, number 1 is define first. Defining the problem should one of the things that the government should need to do first. Why? Because in defining the problem, the government identify what could be the root cause of the problem, and that could lead also on how this problem will be how this problem will be addressed, and how the government create a resolution about that. Then number 2 is the problem itself. By defining the problem, of course, the government should know the root cause of the problem, and this in line with this, the government can create a platform or a plan on how they concretize the problem by creating solution. Number 3 is, I guess, is the number 3 create a blueprint. This blueprint also can be used as a tool in execute on how government can be execute this problem. And in creating a blueprint, it's easy for them on how they manage and how they will expand this resolution for people. And number 4, I guess, is what do you call this? Create a law, which this law should be aligned in the said problem, and this law will be benefited not just only in that specific problem, but also in every people. And not this law should will be informed not just only each individual, but also the whole Philippines will get involved. And 5 is the people should be involved and engaged. This will lead on how people can be knowledgeable about that specific problem, and that should be the government must be working on. Because if the people or if the Filipinos are knowledgeable about that matter, of course they will inform at the same time. They will do better things in helping in eradicating that problem, and this will lead to have a better understanding not just only in the ecological problems, but also contributing also in the different or the possible problems that could be dominized or can create another problem in that one problem, which is the ecological problem.
Hi, I am Geraldine Dela Cruz, and I am here to state the facts about patronizing international products. Across the globe, many products and services were introduced to us by marketing. Many nations around the world already focus on the unique selling proposition that their product can offer. Different nationalities have similarities and differences. The consumer behavior of Americans, Europeans, and Asians have become international standards nowadays in terms of its buying habits and lifestyle. On the other hand, the Filipinos have unique buying habits which has become a culture that can be called its own. Generally, Filipino consumers love to buy things which are on sale and with discounts. These buying habits are very distinct and common to Filipinos worldwide. Filipino buyers are known for its unique buying routine as a way of life. A clear manifestation of that is the Filipino consumers' keen knowledge of the products and services that are being offered. We can understand the reason why thus our fellow Filipinos focusing and patronizing international products over than our local products. It's based on the results comes from internet survey that's almost 29,000 respondents answered these surveys. First, Filipinos love freebies. About 76% of Filipino respondents said they are more attracted to buy products that comes with free gifts. According to Stuart Jamison, a managing director at Nielsen, Philippines, the allure of good product promotion is strongest in developing countries such as the Philippines, where practically and creativeness are needed in order to stretch the budget. Handy-handed, Filipinos may be ready to spend, but still they are on the best lookout for the best deals and promos. Offering extras or gifts to consumers will get them to buy a product over another. Other developing countries trailing behind the respondents from the Philippines lured by freebies are 75% from Vietnam and Greece are 74%. And according to this data, the Philippines exceeds the world average of 58% and Asia Pacific region's average of 61%. Second, Filipinos shop around loyal to brands. About 77% of Filipino respondents said that they usually have preferred brands and types before buying. This is higher than the global average of 67%. And the Asia Pacific region's 69%. The Filipino respondents came only second to India, which had 80% respondents who agreed. According to Jamison, in this report, we found that the Filipino consumer switched to another brand and remain devoted to their favorite shampoo. Example is 63% for deodorant, 56% for coffee, and 53% for other brands. The Nielsen survey acknowledged this. About 79% of the Filipino respondents shop around buy the most value for money product. Number 3. TV remains main source of product info. Television remains the main source of product information for Filipino respondents for items such as cosmetics, skincare, food and beverage, personal care, health care, medicine, household product, and home appliances. Online sources, however, lords all other sources of information for other products like cars. Magazines are the favorite source for jewelry and in-store display and promo packaging for clothing items. And lastly, advertising influence brand. Respondents from the Philippines 78% and Korea 79% said commercial increased their brand preferences. The two markets contributed to Asia Pacific score 67% as having the most consumer in the world, saying that advertising influences their preference for a brand. About 73% of Filipino respondents agree that the image created by advertising influenced their decision to buy a product. This is 9 points more than the region's 64% average, liking the commercial and deciding to buy the product. However, are two different things for Filipinos. Only 48% of Filipino respondents agreed that they would buy a product because they like its commercial. The Asia Pacific average was 51%.
So I am here to ask the view of the Filipina teacher if Philippines is losing its sovereignty. Do you think because of the entry of other businesses here in the Philippines from different countries, is this form that they are already occupying the Philippines?
Let us accept that the Philippines is still one of the developing countries in the world. So by this, let's not put negativity about the issue of having international businesses here in the Philippines. Because for me, having international businesses here in the Philippines gives opportunity to our fellow men by giving work, by having work, by boosting their ability, by working to a foreign company, and by having international business here in the Philippines helps our country to have funds by paying their taxes. So by there, it will help us our country to be someday an international industrialized one.
Second question is, do you think the sovereignty of the Philippines is disappearing?
Sovereignty is a word for me that cannot apply to our country. Because for me, as long as we still have the right to vote, to choose for our leaders, no one can dictate us. So, we still have the freedom to vote. So, sovereignty is far from being under by the other country.
Okay, thank you for that wonderful answers, ma'am. Stay safe po. God bless.
Kawalan ng oportunidad upang makapagtrabaho. Ayon sa tala ng PSA, hindi lamang ang walang natapos o hindi nakapagtapos sa pag-aaral ang dahilan kung bakit walang trabaho. Isa na rin dito ay ang kawalan ng oportunidad ng mga tao. Ang kakulangan sa trabaho ng mga Pilipino ay isa sa maraming sanhi ng kahirapan. Pero, bakit nga ba maraming mga Pilipino ang walang trabaho? Isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit walang trabaho ang mga Pilipino ay dahil sa paglobo ng populasyon. Isa rin sa sanhi ng kawalan ng trabaho dahil hindi lahat ng tao ay nabibigyan ng trabaho. Mas madami ang bilang ng tao kaysa dami ng trabahong iniaalok. Ang mga ito ay patuloy na nagbubunga sa kawalan ng trabaho sa bansa at ang walang tigil na paglaganap ng kahirapan. Ayon sa ulat, nagtala ang Pilipinas ng 7.3% unemployment rate na pinakamataas sa mga bansang kasapi ng Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Ang NCR na kinabibilangan ng Metro Manila ay ang pinakamataas na bilang ng mga Pilipinong walang trabaho. Ang kawalan ng trabaho ay isang suliraning panlipunan na kinahaharap ng ating bansang Pilipinas. Bawat araw na dumaraan o lumilipas, hindi pababa, ngunit pataas ng pataas ang bilang ng mga taong walang hanap buhay.
Hi Kuya Chris, thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask you some questions regarding the globalization, opportunities, new challenges to ethics. First, what do you think are the dilemmas that arises in the labor standard because globalization?
Una, dahil sa globalization, madami ang trabaho, hindi lang sa ibang bansa, pati na sa mga third world countries sa katulad ng Pilipinas. Kaya lang, dahil lagi sa pagtaas ng pangangailangan, kaya ang ating mga produksyon ay mas nangailangan mas mahabang oras. Kaya mga trabaho ay nangailangan mas gumugol ng maraming overtime na kadalasan yung mga oras na ito ay iba hindi nababayaran. Kaya naman, ang kanilang mga sahod ay mas mababa kaysa sa nararapat. So yun, mga isa pala sa problema.
In labor standard, how to challenges to ethics?
Yun na nga, dahil sa dami ng produksyon na kinakailangan para sa globalisasyon, ang standard natin sa trabaho ay hindi na nasusunod. So halimbawa na lang sa mga kaligtasan ng mga trabahador. Halimbawa sa isang factory, imbis na sundin ang mga standard na dapat sundin, ay iniisip na ito para makababa sa cost o sa bawas sa gastos ng mga kumpanya. Kaya yung mga trabahador, sila nagsasuffer talaga.
In the future, would you prefer to work here in the Philippines or abroad?
Para sa akin, dahil medyo tempted yan. Kasi sa ibang bansa, mahal ang sahod nila. Hindi katulad dito sa ating Pilipinas ay hindi mas mababa. Kung kaya kadalasan minsan doble, triple, hanggang 5 hanggang 10 beses pa. Depende sa kakayahan mo. Pero bilang isang Pilipino, oo, maraming opportunity sa ibang bansa. Pero marami din namang opportunity dito sa Pilipinas. Kung kaya basta meron kang sapat na kakayahan, pinag-aralan, ay mas pipiliin ko na dito magtrabaho sa Pilipinas.
Okay, Kuya. Thank you for spending your spare time to share your inputs in globalization and pluralism.
Mga moral na issue sa globalisasyon, ating alamin sa ating video ngayon. Gusto mo pang malaman ang buong kwento? Tara, pag-usapan natin yan. In this view, examples of morality issue may include whether it is correct that a person speak the truth in a particular circumstance or whether the law is followed in the particular circumstance. Because this issue as correctness or error of action is assumed to be factually determined by empirical inquiry. Cybercrime, also called computer crime, is this use of a computer as an instrument to further illegal ends, such as committing fraud, trafficking in child pornography and intellectual property, identity theft, or infringement of privacy. Crime is especially through the internet, as growing the importance of the computer has become the center of commerce, entertainment, and government. Due to early widespread adoption of computer in the international in the United States, most of the earliest victims and civilians of cybercrimes were Americans. However, the 21st century, almost a village of remain anywhere in the world untouched by cybercrime of one kind or another. Pornography. Pornography refers to material that communicates sex that is designed to arouse its readers or viewers. Webster Dictionary defines pornography as writing pictures, etc., intended primarily to arouse sexual desire. There are two types of pornography that refers to First Amendment protection: obscenity and child pornography. The First Amendment generally protects pornography that does not fall into the one of this category. At least for adult viewers, sometimes the materials is classified as harmful to minors, even though adults may have access to the materials. William Davis, 39 of Bristol, of England, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to advertise child pornography and faces 15 to 30 years in prison, a fine of $250,000. Sexual harassment. It includes any sexual act or behavior in the workplace that is carried out against the will of others when they do not or have not consented. Giving is not given when abuser uses force. Harassment, threat of force, threat of personal misconduct, coercion, or when victim is asleep, incompetent or unconscious. The act range from rubbing up against someone to forcing someone to watch culprit committing obscenity. Ethical dilemma. An ethical dilemma, ethical paradox or morality dilemma, is a problem in the decision-making process between two possible options, either of which is perfectly accepted from ethical points of view. Although we face many ethical and moral problems in our lives, most often have straightforward solution. Pluralism. Pluralism is called a system in which the diversity of doctrines, positions, attitudes, inclination, or beliefs within a society is accepted. To tolerated and recognized. The word, as it were, consists of the word plural, which means multiple, and the suffix ism, which refers to doctrine or trend. Pluralism, in this sense, is one of the most important characteristics of modern democracies in the world, as it assumes a recognition of diversity and the promotion of dialogue, as well as the inclusion, respect and tolerance of others, and toward their right not to be different, but also express their difference. In this way, pluralism is a concept in which principle of peaceful living in the society of groups with different interests, views, lifestyle, backgrounds, and beliefs.
As we end this video, we already know that the contemporary confluence of globalization and ethical pluralism is at the origin of many ethical challenges that confront business nowadays, both in practice and in theory. Some of the challenges arising from the development of globalization are discrimination and racism, especially in Asian countries, ecological problem, patronizing international brand where the Philippines is #1 in the survey, and opportunities or trabaho that should be given to every individual. And the sad truth is, all of the problem is what we experience in our country and should be given an attention and action by the government and also to our countrymen.